Hi, I'm Ashley Cooley, a birth, baby, and sleep specialist and mom of 3. There's so much information out there, right? This show is dedicated to helping you clear out the noise so you can figure out what will work best for your baby and your family. If you're looking to learn more about your baby, gain more confidence in your parenting, and get as much sleep as you can through it all, you've come to the right place. Bringing up baby is about to get a little easier. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Ashley Cooley. I'm the owner of Birth Baby Sleep, and we are the host of the Pregnancy and Parenting Expo. So if you are near Halifax, maybe you're in New Brunswick or PEI or somewhere nearby and you want to come, we're actually Atlantic Canada's one and only Baby Expo. So you really should come. It's on Sunday, April 19th at the Westin Nova Scotia in Halifax. It is presented by our amazing friends at Nurtured as our presenting sponsors. We have other fantastic sponsors as well, including CST Savings, Driftwood Doula, Royale Diapers, McDonald's, and Insight Optometry. And so thankfully, because of these wonderful people, we're able to put this on for all of you who are pregnant, who are postpartum, who have young kids or babies. This is your one-stop shop, basically, not just for shopping, but for information, for community, for finding your village, basically. There's going to be so many goodies, so many deals, so many sweet, sweet deals if you're looking for any of those car seats or strollers or those baby items. We're going to have info sessions. There's going to be movement and activity sessions. We have a vendor market of over 40 local vendors here to support you along your journey. So just a little plug for that, because it is going to be a big important day. We do this annually. We sadly can't do it every month because otherwise we would, but this is your one time to come and meet a bunch of experts and get information for you and your little one and your family. But for today, we're keeping on the sleep train here and going to be talking about naps. For those of us living in Nova Scotia and some parts of the world, we had a time change just the other day, and you might be feeling a little sleepy this morning because we lost an hour. But more daylight is never a bad thing. And we're going to talk about what happens when your little one starts showing signs that there's something that may be going on with their naps, but there's actually nothing going on with their naps. It's probably something else. So this episode is all around how to know that your baby is not ready to drop a nap. Basically, I find whenever I'm talking to families, and I've experienced this myself with my 3 kids, when they go through different stages and they're dropping naps or things are going on. But if your little one is fighting naps, that doesn't necessarily mean they're ready to drop them. If your little one is changing how they nap, they're falling asleep later into their nap time, or they happen to skip one once in a while, or they just skip one today for the first time in forever, that doesn't necessarily mean they're ready to drop that nap. There could be lots of reasons for that, okay? Like actually lots of reasons. So I'm going to talk about exactly what you should be looking for to know that your little one's not ready to drop a nap, to keep as many naps as long as possible, because the better they sleep, the better and the more they sleep. Okay, so first, when they're not ready to drop a nap, if they are under 5 months old and their naps are still short, okay, 30 minutes, give or take, is usually about one daytime sleep cycle. Sometimes it's as short as 20 minutes. Sometimes it can be as long as 40 minutes, but it's somewhere in the vicinity of 30 minutes. And that's when your little one when they're under 5 months, it's very much developmentally appropriate that they have short naps. It can be really tough to link those sleep cycles during the day, especially. And so if your little one is under 5 months, heck, I would even say under 6 months, though in month 5, we do want to at least start seeing maybe a hint of a longer nap here and there. But if they're under 5 months, the naps are still short. They are not ready to drop a nap. In fact, if it's still before 5:30 and you can fit in another nap, you should. Okay, so I usually use 5:30 as the cutoff, I guess, for daytime sleep. These are not rules. These are not, carved in stone. Of course, a few minutes here or there isn't a big deal, but it just gives a bit of a guideline as to how to figure out, hey, are we going to go for another nap in the day, or are we just going to do bedtime instead? Or how late can we do another nap before so that they can have bedtime at still a reasonable hour? So for babies under 6 months, I usually say about 5:30 because their last wake window is usually in the vicinity of, well, it could be anywhere between 2 to 2.5 hours, maybe a tad more. So it means bedtime's going to be before 8 p.m. is the ideal. Okay. So if they're under 5 months, if they're still having short naps, if you can still fit another one in before 5:30, they are not ready to drop the nap. You got to keep it. So here's another reason, or here's another time when your little one's not ready to drop a nap, is if they're under 8 months and their first 2 naps haven't lengthened yet. So between 6 and 8 months, if not before, we'd love to see 2 longer naps a day, which, by the way, a long nap is anything over an hour. An hour on the dot is considered a long nap, because the one sleep cycle that we were just talking about, that's about a half an hour. If your little one gets at least an hour's worth of sleep, it means they got 2 sleep cycles worth of rest. They got into that deep sleep for an extra long period of time or for another round. And that's what's going to be really mentally and physically restorative for them. So if your little one happens to only nap an hour or an hour and 5 minutes, or maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and you're thinking, that's not as long as my neighbor's baby, it doesn't matter. They had a long nap, and that is okay, and that is good for them. Okay. So anything over an hour is basically, I would say, considered bonus, but it really just depends on the baby. Some are going to nap longer. They're going to nap an hour and a half, maybe longer, 2 hours. And others are only going to get an hour and 15 minutes. And we don't mind as long as it's at least an hour. All right. Did you get that? Okay. So if they're under 8 months and they're still having some really short naps, they're probably still needing 3 to be able to get through the day. Now our cutoff is going to be closer to 5 o'clock as opposed to 5:30, because they can stay awake a little bit longer at the end of the day. And we always want to try to have bedtime to be before 8 p.m. whenever we can help it. So if they're still having short naps, they're 6, 7 months old, they probably still need that extra one to get through the day, and they will soon be ready to drop to 2 naps. This episode is brought to you by Nurtured, Atlantic Canada's locally owned baby boutique. This year, Nurtured is celebrating 20 years of supporting families with thoughtfully chosen baby gear and incredible customer care. Their knowledgeable team can help you find the right car seat, stroller, nursery furniture, and just about everything baby, making those big parenting decisions feel a whole lot easier. You can visit them in Halifax's vibrant North End or shop online at nurtured.ca. That's Nurtured, helping Atlantic Canadian families feel confident from day one. This next one, is the biggest one. It's the one I repeat the most. It's the one that a lot of us tend to really believe, hey, when they're doing this, they're telling us they're ready to drop a nap. But no, they are not. Babies typically aren't ready to drop down to 1 nap a day until they're closer to about 15, if not between 15 and 18 months of age. And that can be really surprising for people. It's a whole different story if your little one's going to a daycare or day home and they only do 1 nap when they're a year of age, and we got to kind of, figure that part out. That's one thing. But if it's within your control and your baby is under 15 months, just because they skip a nap once in a while does not mean that they're ready to drop to 1 nap. Because you know what? I bet the nap that they're skipping is the afternoon nap, isn't it? They're taking that morning nap. They still religiously fall asleep on time for it, or maybe they push it a little bit and they're sleeping later into the morning. But then when you go a few hours later to give them that afternoon nap, they're not falling asleep for that one, or they're really fighting it. And so naturally we'd think, okay, well, that's what it looked like when we were dropping down naps before. I would get to the end of the day, we'd put them down, they didn't want to sleep over and over again. So it's like, okay, let's stretch their wake windows, kick that nap out of the way, boom, we're fine. This one's different. This one is different because when they go from 2 naps to 1 nap, they're not dropping the afternoon nap. They're not dropping the last nap. They're dropping the first nap. So if your little one is still falling asleep within a reasonable amount of time, under 15 minutes or so for that nap, or even if they happen to be falling asleep a little later for the morning nap, but they're getting a good long nap, it's over an hour, and they're still fighting that second nap, they're not ready to drop that morning nap because they need to be able to stay awake from the time they get up in the morning until at least as close as noon as possible to be able to get on one nap a day. And so if they're falling asleep at 10, 10:30, 9:30, even 11 sometimes, they still need those 2 naps. So this is one of the one and only times that I actually recommend, because you want to keep as many naps as long as possible. It's going to help you in the long run, trust me. So if this is happening, you have a little one under 15 months, they're taking a good solid morning nap, but they're skipping the afternoon, I want you to wake them up from the morning nap, okay? We need that morning nap to be a little bit shorter and or potentially a little bit earlier so that the afternoon nap can happen. It's the afternoon nap in this scenario that is basically the more important one if we had to pick one, because this one is going to help them with bedtime and falling asleep, with having a restful night's sleep, getting to at least 6 a.m. the next day. So if you're noticing, they're waking up super early, they're skipping their afternoon nap, this is actually the time where you want to switch that around. Wake them up from the morning nap, potentially by 10:30, 11 a.m. or no more than an hour. It kind of depends on how old your little one is, where they are on this in this transition and what they're presenting as an issue with the naps. But ultimately, we want to sacrifice the morning nap so that the afternoon nap can play a nice big role. Okay, last but not least, if you have a little one under 4 years old and they're still sleeping well overnight, then keep the nap happening. Keep on that nap train. Only when you start to see that bedtime is getting pushed really late, like well beyond 8 p.m., maybe they're not falling asleep until 9:30 sometimes, that's when I would consider maybe cutting down on the nap. So you can cut the nap down to about an hour or so, and see if that still helps, or if that helps them to get to bed and have a good night's sleep. If it doesn't, then I would start cutting it out and then giving them an early bedtime. You have to give them an early bedtime when you're cutting down naps. It's a must. Yes, they can stay awake a tad longer than they used to, but they're still in a transition where they're trying to make up for a little bit less lost sleep during the day. So bringing that bedtime forward as early as 6 p.m. for some, if they're, 3, 4 years old, dropping to 1 or dropping all their naps altogether, maybe the latest they would go to bed would be 6:30, ideally. I know that's not always possible with work and getting home in the rush and everything, but we're just talking about as early as you can to help them compensate for less sleep during the day and so that they can get a good, decent night's sleep overnight. But we're not going to drop naps completely just because one time or maybe 2 times they skipped a nap, or because they delayed going down for sleep, or because their naps are still really short. Usually those are signs of other things going on, not a sign to give them less sleep during the day. Now, of course, every baby's different, every family's different. We can make these blanket statements and it applies to most people. But if you find that's not working for us, or that's not for me, or I'm still not sure what's going on, we should talk about it because there's nuance to all this stuff. But otherwise, if they're still having short naps, if they've skipped a nap once in a while, if there's still a struggle or some issues going on at bedtime, there's probably something else going on. It's probably not cut the nap out and that will solve it. So just be aware of that. And if you have more questions, you know how to reach me. If you're looking for more information or support along your parenting journey, check out birthbabysleep.ca. That's where you're going to find prenatal classes, postpartum and new baby resources, and sleep support during the childhood years. Lastly, but certainly not least, if you got something out of this episode or our show in general, leaving a rating or a quick review goes a really long way to helping others find us. So please consider leaving one. That's all for now. I'm Ashley Cooley, and we'll see you back here next time.